What's up, Buckeye Nation? Floco here. Ohio State football was going great right here on YouTube. One of the co-founders, along with Johnny Bullet and Sugar Ray Shane Larson, the Game Time Guru. Guys, something to talk about this week that's actually starting to bother me a little bit. I got my drink here after watching that Northwestern game. For all you know, this could be vodka. Who knows? Yeah, I mean that was rough. But as you're here, as long as you're here, guys, please make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit that notification so you know whenever we put out new content. We appreciate you guys always for tuning in, and always help us to get until we get the 5,000 subscriptions. We're almost there. We're very close to being there. We want to do a free giveaway. As of right now, I don't think we're quite there. I think we're under 50 subscriptions from there. So please do a get. What we want to do. We want to give you a good free hoodie and a free mug to a lucky fan, to a lucky supporter. We appreciate you guys for supporting this channel and helping it grow. God bless you guys. We got to talk about some Ohio State football here right now. Okay, there's a situation going on right now with the injury report. I mean, obviously Ryan Day is very coy about injuries, but sometimes it's always we find out like half hour before the game, like somebody's out. Like, wait, who's out? Why? And you just didn't even know about it. But this running back situation is just becoming a bit of a problem. And it's not the only thing contributing to the lackluster run game recently. I mean, obviously we all know about that. There's some offensive line issues, things like that. I'd actually point to the Northwestern game. I mean, granted, it happened a couple games before that. Penn State's a good run defense, but we struggled a little bit there. And Iowa's a good defense. So it's like three good defenses in a row where our run game kind of it was a little lackluster. I wouldn't say Northwestern's been a good defense this year necessarily, but obviously the wind played a factor in that. And you say, well, how can the wind stop the run game? I got that question a couple times during the game when I was talking to folks. Well, the obvious answer is it makes you one-dimensional. That wind was extremely difficult to pass the ball in. They were loading 8 and 9 in the box all the time, and that makes it difficult to run the ball. The key to that game, obviously, was the fact that C.J. Stroud was willing to run the ball. I mean, I actually have to give kudos to Ryan Day for that because he doesn't want to run his quarterback. That's been pretty obvious throughout his career here at Ohio State. Doesn't want to run the quarterback, but he did what he had to do. He called what he had to call to at least get some misdirection going for that offense to get moving the ball. And the offense moved the ball the best when CJ ran it on Saturday. So kudos to Ryan Day and CJ Stroud for being willing to do that, and actually showed something on film for the next 3 games. Specifically for that game up north, for the team up north. I won't say the game up north. It's actually in Columbus this year, but for the team up north, that CJ is willing and he can do it. So now you have to look for it, and that's gonna, I think, ultimately help the run game situation going forward. But obviously, injuries are not helping right now. Henderson was out again. I mean, is Henderson going to be out again? I'm sorry, there's a question mark for Indiana. It's sounding that way, the way Ryan Day's talking, because he's talking about using the depth situation going on with TreVeyon and Dallan Hayden. And Henderson, is he going to be out? He was out again at Northwestern because he re-aggravated a foot injury against Penn State. He can't seem to go a full game without getting hurt. That foot injury is bad. It needs to heal. I'd say sit him because, it's Indiana. Indiana's not good this year. I mean, granted, the problem is, and I do agree with Johnny Bullet on this, the problem with that approach, and I've advocated for that approach, and I admit I think I'm wrong on this, is you got to treat every single game and you got to show the players that every single game is important. But when you start sitting guys out and saying, well, we can beat them handily, let's just rest Henderson. Now, granted, this is a practice as old as time in football. We've done it. They've done it for years. It's nothing new. But the issue with that is, you are starting to. I mean, there is a threat there that you're starting to show the players that certain games are more important than others. So I totally understand what Johnny Bullet's saying, and I do think you got to say if Henderson can go, at least have him ready to go, have him suited up on the sideline, make him an emergency running back or something along those lines. But don't just completely declare him out and say on the basis that this is going to be an easy game or it should be an easy game, because Indiana has been terrible this year. And Penn State just walloped Indiana 45-14, and I don't know. I was of the approach going forward that you kind of just rotate and rest guys based on who you're playing, and I think I'm wrong on that. I think Johnny Bullet's actually more correct on that. So I'll have to give Johnny Bullet some credit. Sorry guys, you hear me sniffling. I'm a little under the weather. Anyway, I'm wondering. It looks like he's going to be out again on the way Ryan Day is talking, and again, if his leg injury just you keep re-aggravating his leg injury, it just gets worse and worse. I mean, it's just a manage it. It's a situation you have to manage going forward, especially knowing that the team up north looms large and they're looking like they're going to be 11-0 and riding high coming into the game. So you're going to have to be as healthy as humanly possible, and you're going to need everybody. You need everybody. And I bring up, that brings us to Miyan Williams, who will play this week. And Ryan Day says his hand injury is a lot better than it has been. The issue with that, you could see last week. I'm wondering if he has a leg injury, to be honest. I mean, I was a couple weeks ago or whatever, maybe even a month ago at this point, there was a report that he was in a boot or he was in a knee brace, I believe, at practice. I mean, that could just be precautionary or whatever. But I'll tell you, maybe it's just me. Comment below if you think I'm an idiot for this, or comment below if I'm wrong. Did he look like himself against Northwestern? And it's not just about the fact that the run game struggled a little bit. A little bit's maybe an understatement, but when he would run the ball and there was a lane there, he just didn't seem to see it like he normally does. I don't know if it's because he's injured. He's favoring. I know he's favoring the hand. I was wondering if there's a leg injury because sometimes his cuts were just. Usually he's a guy who can cut upfield quickly. So I was kind of wondering, maybe is it possible that he has some kind of leg injury as well? Because he just didn't look the same to me in his cuts. He looked slow. I understand. And I also understand Northwestern's a little different. Over there, they like to grow the grass long. It's wet and rainy. It's slippery, so that has a lot to do with it, I'm sure. Um, he just didn't look like Mayan Williams that we're used to. And I'm not saying it's all him because obviously the run blocking wasn't always there either. He get met at the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's just it is what it is at that point. I mean, you can't expect him to power through every single tackle that he comes across. But I mean, we're not helping him there. And Kevin Wilson spoke on that and said that people are just actually trying to put us in positions where we have to pass the ball, which sounds crazy to the normal fan, but it actually makes sense. Especially if we want to run the ball in early downs, you want to get us on 3rd and long because obviously, no matter who you are, what kind of passing game you have, that's obviously the better situation for the other opposing team to get you in 3rd and long to get you off the field. It puts you pretty not just one dimensional, but it puts you in a specific genre of that one dimension where you have to be 3rd and long. So it makes sense for teams to do that, but we just got to figure it out. I mean, maybe the answer is passing the ball more on 1st down and get people open up. Maybe the answer is having CJ run the ball more and opening up lanes for other guys. But I think also possible is it's just part of it is the not just the blocking, but the injuries that are going on right now with our running backs. We are just banged up at running back. Did not expect that this year. This is why I've been a fan of rotation. Johnny and I discussed this. We have a slight disagreement on this. I'm just a fan of keeping these guys fresh because in today's running game, you see it in the NFL level. You see it at most levels now. You need a rotation. You need two to three solid backs. Sorry, several. 2 to 3 solid running backs to get you by. You don't need that one bell carrier anymore. Bell cow carrier anymore. You need to have a 2 to 3 guys that can get the job done. And right now we have like half of a guy, so because Henderson's out, Williams is injured, maybe more than half. But we have a guy who's really good, but again, there's no with him injured, and there's no change of pace really with mine. When we used him the entire game against Northwestern, there's no change of pace. I mean, you're not keeping guys fresh that way. I actually thought against Northwestern we would use Chip Trey in them. We would use Dallan Hayden more with Henderson being out. We didn't use them at all. But I kind of get it because it's not just the ability to run the ball, obviously. It's understanding the packages, understanding the offense, understanding what your goal and your role is on that certain down and distance. It's understanding blocking schemes. It's understanding, there's a lot to it, a lot of cerebral to it. Then Dallan Hayden's a young guy, obviously. He can come in and run a few plays. Maybe they should do that just to give Mayan Williams a spell. But we were also going 3 and out quite a bit, and we were also punting the ball quite a bit. So maybe they felt that was enough rest for Mayan Williams. But going forward, they really had. I mean, Brian Day spoke of it in his press conferences and his interviews this week. We need to reach farther into our depth, and I agree with that. If you can't play Henderson, which it sounds like they can't, and you have to rely on Ship and you have to roll the dice with these guys a little bit, not get them, they don't each have to have 15 touches a game or whatever, but you need to spell Mayan Williams a little bit and give the defense a change of pace. Dallan Hayden is indisputably a change of pace from Mayan Williams. I haven't seen Chip Trey and him run as a Buckeye. I know he's fast. Obviously, they have him on kick returns, so obviously he has some speed about him. They say he's the fastest linebacker in the room, in fact. And it was probably obviously out of necessity for him to play to switch positions this year. He wasn't going to play much at linebacker because Steele Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg and it looks like Cody Simon have that position pretty locked down, and maybe short yardage situations, Deontay and everything. But if Chip's not going to play linebacker as much, and put him at running back and put him in the game, probably looking for some playing time since he transferred here from Arizona State, which looked to be a really good decision based on the fact that Herman Edwards is now gone. But I mean, I think you kind of have to. I mean, maybe we're not in a position where we're blowing teams out to where you can get these guys as reps. You're going to have to play them in real live reps in a game that matters and when the score matters. So when the score is still in question. So I think you just can't beat these guys, the top two guys up until we get to the team up north. But also it brings me to man, I'll tell you one thing. That Evan Pryor injury is looming large now, more than ever. I mean, granted, it wasn't good. We all knew it wasn't good back in the day, but we had a three-headed monster potentially. Evan Pryor is an extremely talented running back. We all love him. We all know he's got a bright future. I feel for the kid tearing his ACL. It was awful. But, at the time you thought, okay, we can get by with Williams and Henderson, and we got some young guys that can play. But, it wasn't like season ending for Ohio State. It wasn't like CJ Stroud getting hurt, knock on wood. Sorry, I did it, so don't blame me. But it was still like, okay, great players getting hurt. It doesn't help, obviously. And how much is that contributing to the fact that how much we have to use Henderson and Williams versus we could have had a three-man rotation of three really talented backs and not really lose much when you put Evan Pryor in the game. You're not going to lose anything with him, especially since he's picked up the blocking schemes. He looks quicker. Before he got hurt, spring game and otherwise, he looked quicker than he had ever had. He looked like he was figuring out the offense. He was a year older. So, I mean, it's looming large. I mean, how helpful would it be right now to have, even if he's a little banged up because he's played all year, or since he wouldn't play as much as William and Henderson, how helpful would it be right now to have Evan Pryor? How confident would you be to have Evan Pryor right now, backing up an injured Henderson and a banged up Williams? I mean, I'm not saying Hayden can't do the job. I'm not down on these guys, but obviously you'd prefer to have the year older guy who understands the offense better, who understands Tony Alford and what he wants better, and he understands what the blocking schemes and everything he needs to contribute on offense, not just as a running back. Not to mention, Evan Pryor's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. That's what he was in high school. That's what he will be in college when he finally gets his chance. Excellent receiver out of the backfield. Those wheel routes is an option. It's just another receiving option, especially with JSN still lingering in his injuries. I don't know if he's ever going to even play again at this point. I'm hoping he's good by the team up north, but just another weapon to have that people have to account for. So that injury is really looming large these days, and it stinks. But I mean, what do you do going forward? I think you just kind of have to trust the guys you have, and Chip and Dallan. I don't know which one you go with first. I would assume Dallan. He's known the offense a little better than Chip, I would assume. But Chip's also been around the block, been a starting running back in Division I football, so he understands terminology, understands what he needs to do a little bit more than a freshman coming into big boy college football. And Dallan has shown. Not to say that Dallan hasn't shown glimpses, but I kind of want to see Chip a little bit this weekend against Indiana. I want to see what he can do. I hope we're in a position against Indiana where we're ahead far enough to where Miyan can just stay out of the game altogether. I don't know based on our recent play if that'll happen, but I mean, Indiana's not good, but that doesn't mean we're playing at our peak either. So who knows? And Indiana, this is going to be their Super Bowl again. Ohio State is the Super Bowl for each one of these teams. So you expect them to come out and play hard. And if a couple lucky breaks, couple lucky bounces, we have a couple dumb turnovers or things like that. Maybe the weather. I heard the weather might be a little rainy. Maybe that plays in their favor a little bit, slows us down just a bit. And all of a sudden it's a 21-10 game going in the third quarter, and the run game still looks stagnant. And then you can't really trust the young guys to hold on to the football like you can Mayan Williams. That's another aspect of it too. Who protects the football the best? So I don't know. I hope to see the young guys play because the Williams needs to be spelled and he needs to heal. And we need him to play, but he needs to heal. Henderson needs to heal up. We can't. I mean, trot him out there, suit him up for an emergency situation. But I mean, because you got to let the team know how important these games are. But you got to go in with a plan that Henderson's probably not going to play. And if you're not going to do that, then you got to have all hands on deck and play the young guys. That's my opinion. Comment below if I'm wrong on that. How do you feel about that? How do you feel if you're Coach Ryan Day? How do you feel you handle this running back situation, which stagnant running game, which is not just the running backs, obviously it's the blocking scheme as we mentioned before, but how do you feel you would handle the injury situation with our running backs spot, which is so vital to our success going forward? Anyways, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you guys for everything you guys do for us, all the support and love you give us. As always, please subscribe and put your notifications on for when we have new content. And as I said before, 5,000 subscriptions help us get there. We're gonna do a giveaway. I was hooding them up. I'm wearing the hoodie right now. I love this hoodie. Love this hoodie very much. So appreciate you guys. Ohio State football with Scott and Great right here on YouTube. This has been Flo Co, your host for today, talking about Ohio State football injuries with the running back situation specifically. Appreciate you guys. Goodbye. God bless, and go Bucks.